it has always mattered. I know that you may want to convince yourself that how I look does not matter. What matters is what I bring to the table, my kindness, my good heart, my generosity, or my intelligence, all that thing, all those things that we are told every day. What matters is what is on the inside. It's okay, it's fine. I know that is what most of us want to believe. But I have news for you. How you look will always, will always matter. Have you ever gone to the bank or to the hospital or the supermarket, just a public setup, a public place, and you feel as though whoever is serving you or the person that you've interacted with, they've not treated you well, or you feel like they were not nice or kind to you? If it happens to you regularly, once in a while you may encounter someone that just has a bad attitude, someone that is just a terrible person or just terrible at customer service. It happens. Once in a while you may encounter that person. But if it's something that happens to you every time you just encounter people that treat you horribly, people that, they don't handle you well. Maybe you've gone to the restaurant and you were not happy with the service. Every other time, you're always complaining about service people not being kind to you, or you just feel like you don't experience good service wherever you go. Maybe it's time you check, as in you look at yourself physically, your physical appearance whenever you are showing up to these places. That we are told that, oh, men are visual beings and all, but even women, human beings in general are visual beings. Before they think about what is on the inside, what you bring to the table, how kind of a person you are, or how generous of a person you are, all these things. Before we get to that, we are dealing with what we can see with our naked eyes. We are dealing with what we can see like from the get-go. So this concept of the halo effect. So the halo effect explains what I'm saying very, very well. The halo effect is like the cognitive bias that involves assumptions of people, places, or products or things. It's just an assumption of something or someone or somewhere based on the first interaction, based on the first impression. That is what the halo effect means. And the opposite of the halo effect is the horn effect. It's just the exact same phenomenon, but now the halo effect is positive, but the horn effect is negative. Let me explain it this way. People normally assume that someone who looks good looking and beautiful people always assume that they are more intelligent, that they are trustworthy, that they are kind, that they are generous. When you meet someone who looks good, it's so much easier to trust them compared to when you meet someone that does not look exactly appealing. Yeah. So if you find that if you get to interact with someone who looks very good, someone who is beautiful, someone who is gorgeous, or someone who is handsome, someone who is breathtaking, if you interact with them for the first time, you're going to just find yourself trusting them more. You're going to find yourself believing everything that they say, regardless of whether it's true or not. If someone who looks good tells you something, chances of you double checking it or chances of you trying to prove it, is going to be slimmer compared to someone who does not look very good. You're going to just assume that everything that they're saying is true. You're just going to assume that they are trustworthy. You're going to assume that they are smart. You're going to assume that they're intelligent. You're going to assume that they are kind. All these positive things. That is the halo effect. Because you just assume that they look put together. They look so good. So there is literally no way that they are not there is literally no way that they are not good people. There is no way that they are not intelligent. There is no way that they don't know what they are saying. That's the halo effect. The horn effect, on the other hand, is as in just exactly what I've said, but now the opposite. As in, you meet someone that looks shabby or unkempt or does not look good. You're going to assume that they're thieves. You're going to assume that they are stupid. You're going to assume that they are unkind, they are ruthless, they are all these negative things. So that is what it means. This whole concept applies even to children, unfortunately. Teachers tend to give children that look good, children that are clean, children that are well kept, children that look good. Teachers tend to give them higher grades compared to the opposite. And this makes me so sad. But It's something that happens. So if you're a parent and you send your child to school looking all shabby and unkempt, just know that your child is having a very hard time at school. They're having a very hard time at school. This one applies even to pastors, preachers, or public speakers. You tend to believe more someone who is looking good compared to the opposite. There are so many examples that I can mention about this whole pastor and all, but I don't want it to be political, so I'm not going to go there. But the examples that are popping up in your head already. There are so many preachers. Okay, there's one particular person that I'm thinking right now, but if you listen to that person's preachings, it's not that deep. It's not that compelling, but he tends to move his crowd every time because he looks good. He looks put together. He wears the best suits. He just looks good in general. So the halo effect works in his favor. You can just see it playing out in real time. You can see it. Politicians also. These politicians, especially our governor in Nairobi. I'm not going to mention the name, but like that man is, I think he's one of the least performing politicians ever, but he was voted for based on how he looks because for some weird reason that I do not understand, Nairobians decided that he looks good and so he should be the governor. And so that is okay, you get the point. So what I'm trying to say is that put effort into how you look. It is always going to matter. It is always going to count. I do not know how, I cannot stress this enough. It's always going to count. Look good. Put effort into how you look. I'm not saying that you must put on 10 or 15 layers of makeup all the time if you're a lady. No, I'm not saying that, but look presentable. Do something to your face, do something to your hair. Just at least look presentable. And you're going to notice that things are going to change based on the way the people treat you. Especially if you go to these offices where you encounter the security or the receptionist first. If you want to know that you look good, if you want to know how good you look, just go to these offices and see how the security or the receptionist is going to treat you. That is going to tell you everything you need to know. Because I have been in a situation where I walked into one office and I happened to meet with some guy. He was telling me how the security guy has attitude and all. He was just ranting to me about the horrible experience that he has had with the security guy. So I went there and I was like, that is what I was expecting. But to my surprise, the security guy was so kind and so nice to me. Like I was in shock. So you see, we had two different experiences. Because let me tell you one thing about me. I am always going to put effort. I'm always going to try and look good. No matter what, I'm just going to try because this thing is real, whether you want to accept it or not. If you don't accept it, does not make it any less real because it is something I've seen playing out before my very eyes. I have worked in the customer service industry for a while. I have worked in the customer service industry for some years, for as long as I can remember. Customer facing, and in as much as I would hate to admit, sometimes it used to happen to me that I used to treat people that look put together or people that just look like they put effort into the way they look. I used to find myself sometimes treating them better than the opposite. And I am aware that it is not right because sometimes I used to call myself out on that. I used to tell myself, no, it is wrong. But I just could not help myself sometimes. It felt like, I don't know, like I just used to find myself. It just used to happen subconsciously. And then later on, I'd be like, oh. So it used to happen subconsciously, but at some point I just called myself on a meeting and told myself this has to end, this has to stop. So it was like now I just had to be conscious about it. Sometimes I would get carried away and it would happen, and then I would now remember later on. But this is a fact. It is something that happens. It is something that I'm not going to lie to you about. People that look good have different experiences. Even if you speak to people that you consider good looking in the society, or someone in just your circle, or just your friend, or just anyone that you consider good looking, and ask them about their experiences, they're going to tell you like the world is a bit kinder to them. And that is so shallow, that is so superstitious, but that is just how things are. That is the world we live in. Here we are. So we just have to get on board, because there's nothing that can be done about it. So this whole thing that I've just spoken about, it's just something that may seem so shallow, but it can play out before your very eyes. If you're observant enough, you'll be able to see in real time what I'm speaking about. Because like, okay, the things that is attribute extrapolation, where you've met someone. Based on how they look, you have already given them all the positive attributes you can ever think of. You've already assigned them with all these nice things, all these nice traits about a person, just because you like how they look, or just because they look put together. It is something that happens every other day. Attribute attribute extrapolation is something that happens both positively and negatively. The same way, if you don't look so good, people are going to assume that you're a thief, or that you're a con artist, or that you're this, or that you're a liar. That is how it happens. Because even if you have a case, if you have a court case and you're going to appear before the court or before the jury, your lawyer is going to advise you, make sure you look your best, because they know it is a psychological thing, and it happens subconsciously. Most of the time it happens subconsciously. Like people don't know that it's actually happening, but it is happening. They're going to tell you, look your best, because they know how you look has a very, very big impact of how people are going to judge you. It's real. It's a real thing. The other day in Kenya, there's this one guy. I'm not mentioning any names, but Kenyans are going to know who I'm talking about. There's this one guy that had a very controversial case about murder. He was being charged for murder. So according to the Kenyan standards, the guy is good looking. That's what Kenyans say, that he's good looking. So this guy was accused of murder. He allegedly slit a woman's throat and left her for dead in her bathtub. As horrifying, as brutal as that crime sounds, let me burst your brains that there are Kenyans, men and women, especially women, that were defending him. There are Kenyans that were thinking, okay, maybe he's not guilty, maybe he's innocent, maybe the evidence were not strong enough. Oh, I feel so sorry for this guy. Maybe he was just in the wrong time, in the wrong place at the wrong time. People were trying to make excuses for him, but the court found him guilty for the crime committed. People were going to social media, like making excuses for him, like coming up with some very, very weird things. I don't even know. I did not believe it, because he's considered good looking. There's even one comedian that made a joke about that whole thing. The day that he was found guilty, the day that he was sentenced in court and found guilty, there's a comedian that made a joke about it. And do you know what? People were coming for her based on her looks. Yeah, that's so crazy. Just because she dared to make a joke about a convicted murderer. People now, just because they want to defend this murderer, alleged murderer, they were now coming for this comedian. As crazy as that may sound, it actually happened. So I'm just going to end it by saying, put effort in how you look. It is always always going to matter. Just put a little effort, and you're going to begin to see the difference in how people treat you, in how people perceive you, in your life experiences in general. You're going to start to see it. So thank you for watching this video. Please, I am begging you, please subscribe if you have not already. Like, share, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I really love to hear about what you think about this whole thing. And I'll see you on my next one. Goodbye.